Second piece of chapter 13 is talking about supplier relationships. It's important and different methods and different types of relationship and why it's important that buyers and suppliers have a good relationship. The first thing that we need to know is why it's important that we evaluate suppliers and we have a good relationship with suppliers. The simple answer is that a good supplier will aim to customer satisfaction. So if a supplier performs a good job, customers will be satisfied at the end because the criteria which are identified in the middle as strategic items um, or traditional needs such as quality, quantity, time, services, and price. And finally, current additional needs such as sustainability, political factors, innovation, and other factors are all the things that customer wants that. So if a supplier could provide all of these factors and the supplier could get a good mark or good ranking in the evaluation process, so that supplier can also guarantee a customer satisfaction. So that's the first reason that we should continue evaluating suppliers based on this criteria and making sure that they can do their job well for us so that as a result, customer will be satisfied. Okay, another important thing that we should consider in this figure is that all the processes, macro processes in supply chain are divided into three main categories. So those who are closer to upstream, they are called supply links. So these are activities that are closer to suppliers and we call them supply relationship management. Then we have processes in the middle. So these are the core activities that are happening in the supply chain in order to add values to the raw material or sub-assemblies provided by suppliers, and they will be transferred to end customers. And finally, we have the link between our main processes and customers. So this is called customer relationship management. So these are all activities, services, and operations and strategies that are designed and operated in order to make final customer happy. So in this course, we are mostly trying to concentrate on this part and trying to create a link between supply and internal operations of the company. So that's why we are trying to find suppliers and having a good relationship with them in order to make sure that we will have uh, accepted performance uh, in our operation and make the final customer happy. This model, which is called buyer supplier satisfaction, is going to give us a position based on the satisfaction of buyers from supplier and suppliers from buyers. So as you can see, there are two axes here, buyer satisfaction on x-axis and supplier satisfaction from buyers in y-axis. So there are so many ways that you can rank them. For example, here we see a number between 0 to 10. So 0 means no satisfaction or total dissatisfaction. 10 means complete satisfaction, and any number in between could be assigned. The same for supplier satisfaction. So after we review the performance of each other, so we evaluate how happy we are from the performance of suppliers. Suppliers also do an analysis that how they are happy from the operations and cooperation with us. So as a result of that, we will have four different quadrants in this matrix. So the most desirable place or quadrant in this matrix is here, quadrant A, which buyers and suppliers are happy from each other. So this is a place that we can continue working with the suppliers who are in quadrant A, because we can work with each other and we can find common objectives and common area to work in long term. And the worst case here is that both of us uh, are not happy with each other, which is quadrant D. So in this case, we should work together in order to improve what we are doing and what we have done negatively previously. in order to reduce the impact of those activities and move from quadrant D to quadrant A. So also there are two areas, C and B, which are a little bit complicated. In next slide, we want to discuss them in more detail. Okay, in quadrant B and quadrant C, which are a little bit strange, you know, the expectations and the satisfaction between buyer and supplier are totally opposite from each other. So as you can see here in this quadrant, uh, suppliers are very happy from working with us, and we are not happy from their performance, we as buyer companies. So as a result of that, we do not receive proper services. Probably the reasons could be they are the only supplier in the market, and uh, so they have this position uh, that they can increase the prices, they can have lower quality, and so many other things. And on the other side, there is another quadrant that we are happy from their performance, but they are not happy. So probably we have a kind of um, limited demand for these products, and if they do not sell to us, they won't have any other place to sell. So it's a kind of obligatory uh, and temporary situation that they don't have any other option. So they should continue their business with us. So these two areas are not also good, and we cannot establish a partnership for a long term with these two quadrants. So as a result of this analysis and this model, which is called purchaser supplier satisfaction model, we will see that we have done something positive before. We here means buyers and suppliers. We have done something positive that motivates us to continue and inspires the other side. And we have done something negatively that um, actually does not encourage us to continue partnership. So we want to review these items in next slide and find a way that makes our previous bad job to something positive. Okay, first of all, there are some reasons that if we already have a good position in the buyer supplier matrix, we may move to a negative point. So what are the reasons that buyer could start or initiate in order to have a negative impact on suppliers? First of all, buyers can have a complete severance of purchases without advance notice. Buyers can suddenly say that I don't want to buy anything from you, supplier. So this one has a huge negative impact on suppliers because they already have established their processes. They have bought raw material, they have produced material, they have transported. So that's a huge challenge for suppliers. Second point is refusal to pay bills. So buyers have received the items, but they are not willing to pay the supplier. So this is also a big challenge that could happen in many cases and has a negative impact on suppliers. Refusal to accept shipments. So the items are transported to the agreed upon location at the buyer's place, but they are not ready to accept or inspect those items and let them in uh, within the buyer's location. So that's another big challenge. So what should we do? Should we return them? Should we keep them? Or so that's a huge challenge. So negatively impact the relationship. And finally, use or threat of legal actions. So if buyer take a higher hand and just use the existing terms in their contract against the supplier several times, so it will create a very bad measure to suppliers. So these are the ways that buyers can create a negative impact. So how suppliers can create a negative impact in the satisfaction of buyers? First of all, refusal to send shipments as promised. They are doing so much delays. They would say we are not interested in sending to you. We have other promises or something like that. Unilateral price increases without notice. They suddenly change the prices, increase the prices without letting the buyer know in advance. So again, that's going to bring so much challenges for buyer because they may not have enough budget or they have not predicted such increase in price, so they're not ready to that. So that's a big challenge again, and could negatively impact the buyer's companies. Insistence of unreasonable terms and conditions or the use of take it or leave it propositions. So again, suppliers take a higher hand and they would say, this is what it is. If you like it, you can take it. Otherwise, I can sell it to other buyers. So again, when we have a kind of scarcity of supply, such problems could happen, and for sure, it can impact the relationship and satisfaction of buyers. So these are the ways that suppliers could negatively impact the relationship. At the same time, there are some ways that buyers and suppliers could positively impact their satisfaction of each other. And first, we'll start with the buyer's position, how buyers could create a positive measure. First of all, granting substantial volume of business, having long-term commitment or 100% of requirement to be purchased from a supplier. So when we increase the position of supplier so that we are buying a majority of our uh, needs or demand from a supplier, so it's going to create a positive impact on suppliers. So they feel that we are committed to them, we are loyal to them, so they will also be happy, and it creates a positive measure. Sharing internal information on forecast, problems, um, and opportunities to invite a mutual search for alternatives. So that's one of the most important benefits. And also it brings so much value if buyers could share some information with suppliers. For example, buyers normally have better forecast of future market, so they can share this information in terms of forecast, in terms of new technologies, required innovation, and trends in the market. If these informations are shared with suppliers, suppliers will be able to take some actions in advance so that they will not be surprised with the future request of buyers. And both buyers and suppliers will benefit at the end. The third issue is evidence of willingness and ability to work towards change behavior in the purchasing organization to improve the seller's position. If a buyer company takes some measures, do some actions, which is showing they are not happy with the current performance of themselves towards or the current behavior of themselves towards supplier, so that supplier feels that they are doing some action. For example, they have a very bad procurement team or bad manager in procurement office. So if the buyer just change that manager and hire a new one, which has a good behavior and good cooperation with suppliers, so this sends a good signal, a positive signal to suppliers. So in this way, their relationship could be improved. Or for example, if they start consultation from a buyer to supplier, they start some ERP system to be shared with each other. So these are all positive signs. Rapid positive response to requests from suppliers to discuss and adjust in terms of price, quality, delivery, and service. So the important term here is rapid positive response. In many cases, suppliers need to discuss details. For example, they have some challenges in order to find raw material, so it will impact their quality. Or the price of raw material has been increased, so they need to consult with buyers and let them know. So in this case, they need to have a meeting and discuss these issues with buyers. So if buyers respond very fast, this gives a good impact on the relationship. In real world, it normally takes a long time that buyers accept to have a meeting with suppliers. So that's why it has been a important measure to be considered here. And how suppliers can create a positive impact on the satisfaction of buyer-supplier relationship. So first of all, willingness to and ability to make rapid price, delivery, and quality adjustments in response to purchase requests without a major hassle. So it may happen that buyers want to talk about the increase of their demand, changes of the specifications, and delivery time. They may need to expedite the orders and so many other things. So if these requests are responded very fast by suppliers, it creates a positive impact on buyers, and also positive impact on buyer supplier satisfaction model. The next point is invitation to the purchaser to discuss mutual problems and opportunities. So normally there are some um, annual meetings or maybe regular or irregular meetings, so that in these meetings they can discuss about these issues. If supplier respond very fast to buyers, so it creates a positive measure. And finally, giving notice substantially in advance of pending changes in price, lead time, availability to allow the purchasers maximum time to plan ahead. So here is giving notice substantially in advance. For example, supplier would say, I'm going to change my technology. I am going to use a new raw material. I'm going to use a new location uh, for establishing production line, which could be maybe far away from your place or closer to yours. I may use a different transportation method. So all of these things could impact buyers as well. So if suppliers let the buyers know in advance, buyers can take some actions. So this again is going to bring some positive impact on suppliers, on buyers. This matrix is also very interesting because it's going to evaluate the buyer supplier relationship and tries to find the investment versus rewards obtained. So as an output of supplier evaluation, we will have a kind of ranking of suppliers. These rankings could be unacceptable suppliers. So these are the suppliers that we do not like to work anymore with them. So discontinuing business with unacceptable suppliers and substituting better ones is something that we should do. So these are unacceptable suppliers. Then we have acceptable suppliers. These are the suppliers that meet the current operational needs based on the contract that we have, and acceptable suppliers provide no basis for competitive edge. We are happy from their services, they are good, they could meet our short-term needs. So these are called acceptable suppliers. Then we have something which is called preferred suppliers. So preferred suppliers meet all operational and some of the strategic needs of the buying organization. So preferred suppliers react positively to initiatives of purchaser to improve the current situation. So these are the preferred suppliers. And finally, we have something which is called exceptional supplier. So exceptional suppliers anticipate operational and strategic needs of purchaser and are capable of meeting and exceeding them. So they are doing even something more than what we expect from the suppliers. So these types of suppliers are very good to establish alliances or partnership with them. Okay, so these classifications are coming as a combination of relationship investment required and rewards obtained from each of these investments. So as you can see here, in many cases in terms of investment, uh, out of our collaboration and partnership, we need to spend a lot of money in terms of lower quality and defect rates and something like that. So these are a kind of unacceptable suppliers. Then we have the suppliers that they could make a few valuable products for us, and they are good to establish short-term relationship. So we may buy from them 1 or 2 times. So they are just for sale only. Then we have some suppliers that can provide us good services and we are happy with them. So we might buy from them in longer term. So they are called acceptable suppliers. So the range of them could be something from here or up to here, which because of their performance, we're happy from them. Then we have process or system focus suppliers. So these are a kind of preferred suppliers. These preferred suppliers um, are good for mutual improvement. We can work together in order to um, provide some values in short term and long term for customers. But among all of these uh, suppliers, we have some suppliers that they are willing to have continuous improvement. So these types of suppliers, if we work together, we can bring some mutual breakthrough. That's why we prefer exceptional suppliers to establish partnership and alliances.